Question on Reddit for those working in the healthcare sector. Tell us about something happening in hospitals that is hidden from us, but that you think should be known. Why do some patients suddenly improve before they pass away? Answer. This is something that confuses families and breaks the hearts of medical staff. Suddenly, a patient who could not speak, eat, or even open their eyes begins to sit up, smile, and talk with an unusual clarity. They ask for simple things: water, food, or to see a specific person. Families believe the treatment has finally worked. But in the eyes of the doctors, there is a heavy silence, because they have seen this moment before. Sometimes the body releases one final surge of energy, as if it is gathering everything it has left to say goodbye. This is not a miracle. It is a quiet farewell. And then, within hours or a single day, everything collapses in a way that cannot be stopped. This sudden improvement is the most dangerous sign of all, because it creates hope at the wrong moment. Why do some patients talk about people who aren't there? Answer. At certain stages, the brain begins to separate reality from memory. People who have passed away appear, old memories resurface, or familiar faces show up. Science calls this delirium. But the medical staff, after witnessing this hundreds of times, remain silent, because this kind of talk often precedes the end. And no one wants to be the first to break this illusion. What is the most common thing that happens in hospitals at night that is never talked about? Answer. At night, the hospital does not sleep, but it quiets in a strange way. The number of staff decreases, sounds become softer, and small things begin to appear. Patients press their call buttons, and when the nurse enters, they find them deeply asleep, or they say they didn't press anything. Sometimes monitoring devices give alerts for a few moments, and then return to normal without any clear medical reason. The most unsettling part? Some patients, hours before their death, begin talking to people who aren't there. They're coming, standing at the door. Why are you in a hurry? The staff know this pattern, but it is never mentioned to the families, so as not to cause fear. At night, the hospital exists between two worlds, the world of the living and the world of those about to depart. Is it true that some patients sense their time of death before it happens? Answer. Yes, and this is one of the things that leaves the deepest psychological impact on medical staff. There are patients whose condition is medically stable, yet suddenly they ask to organize their belongings, or to contact people they haven't spoken to in years. Some request a shower, a change of clothes, or quietly say, "It's over. I won't last much longer." The machines show no immediate danger, and tests are relatively normal, but the staff knows something has changed. Indeed, within hours, the patient's condition can deteriorate unexpectedly. Medicine does not have a precise explanation for this feeling, but it happens frequently enough that it cannot be ignored. It's as if the body knows the end before the mind does. What is the heaviest decision made in hospitals that patients are unaware of? Answer. Not every treatment is continued until the very end. Sometimes, quietly and without fanfare, a decision is made to implement. Do not escalate treatment. This does not mean neglecting the patient. Rather, it means that the doctors understand that further interventions will not save the patient's life and will only prolong suffering. The team continues basic care, pain relief, oxygen, comfort, but without explaining the full details of the decision to the patient. It is not a lie, but a harsh form of mercy. The staff carries this psychological burden for years because they know they are witnessing the end in silence, while the patient believes that tomorrow is still possible. What truly scares healthcare workers the most? Answer. It's not blood, injuries, or death. The most terrifying thing is becoming accustomed, seeing pain every day and being able to smile afterward. Finishing your shift, stepping out into the sunlight, while knowing that someone inside will never see it again. The real fear is the moment you feel nothing, because it means a part of you has gone cold. This is why many healthcare workers silently suffer insomnia, nightmares, or long stretches of quiet after night shifts. The hospital changes a person, even if it doesn't show. Healthcare workers. What is a secret horror that patients will never understand? Answer. The worst nights are when the patients are quiet, and the staff notices things moving that shouldn't. For lines twitch on their own, monitors flash numbers that make no sense, and shadows shift in corners where nothing exists. Sometimes, patients who are fading away stare at a blank wall and scream or whisper, as if they see figures looming behind the curtain. The first few times, staff thought it was delirium. Then patterns emerged. Those moments almost always happen in the last few hours of life. And staff, trained to comfort, have to act normal while knowing the truth. Some things in hospitals are alive in ways science can't explain. The terror isn't the dying. It's the sense that something else is watching, waiting, choosing. What happens behind the scenes in hospitals that you wish the public knew? Answer. Every hospital has rooms that staff avoid if they can. There are beds that are cursed in the eyes of nurses, not literally, but statistically. Patients in these beds die more often, sometimes suddenly, sometimes after moments of bizarre behavior, talking to the air, sitting upright, or staring for hours at nothing. Staff learn to keep silent. Families are never told. If they knew, panic would spread, and the fragile balance of care would collapse. And there's a weight on the staff. They walk the corridors knowing that in any given room, a life can end in ways that defy expectation, leaving behind questions no one can answer. It's a silent horror, invisible to outsiders, yet heavy in every heartbeat of the night shift. Healthcare workers. What is a secret horror that patients will never understand? Answer. The worst nights are when the patients are quiet, and the staff notices things moving that shouldn't. For lines twitch on their own, monitors flash numbers that make no sense, and shadows shift in corners where nothing exists. Sometimes, patients who are fading away stare at a blank wall and scream or whisper, as if they see figures looming behind the curtain. The first few times, staff thought it was delirium. Then patterns emerged. Those moments almost always happen in the last few hours of life. And staff, trained to comfort, have to act normal while knowing the truth. Some things in hospitals are alive in ways science can't explain. The terror isn't the dying. It's the sense that something else is watching, waiting, choosing. Healthcare workers. What is something terrifying that patients never realize happens in hospitals? Answer. There are moments in the night when the hospital seems almost aware. You walk the quiet corridors, and the usual hum of machines doesn't feel mechanical anymore. It feels like breathing. Patients, even the most sedated or comatose, sometimes move subtly. A finger twitches, eyelids flicker, a faint moan escapes lips that shouldn't be able to speak. Staff learn quickly that these movements are not random. They precede deaths in ways science cannot explain. Sometimes a patient sits up, looks at a corner, and whispers a name. Someone long dead, someone no one else can see. And then, hours later, they're gone. The eerie part is that it's predictable. Not everything in hospitals follows biology alone. Patterns emerge that only the night shift can see. It's as if some patients have a private connection to the moment of their passing, a connection that no one outside these walls could understand. The walls hold secrets, and the staff carry them in silence. Every night shift, you realize, the hospital is a place where life and death exist in layers, and the line between them is thinner than anyone wants to admit. Healthcare workers. What is the scariest thing that happens when patients are alone? Answer. It isn't the machines, or the alarms, or even the blood. It's the things that happen when patients are left alone in their rooms. Some whisper to shadows. Some reach out with empty hands, trembling, as if someone unseen is holding them back. Staff have reported patients asking questions about people who never existed or insisting someone is standing silently in the doorway. At first, you think it's delirium, but patterns emerge. Those who speak to the unseen almost always pass away within hours. And sometimes, staff catch glimpses too, objects moving subtly, for lines twitching, shadows in corners where no one is. No cameras, no monitors, no scientific explanation can capture it. The hospital at night is alive in ways most people will never understand. And the worst part? The staff has to act normal, comforting families, as if nothing is happening, while knowing that some rooms carry a presence, a quiet force that precedes death. The fear isn't in the dying, it's in the knowing. Knowing that something watches, waits, and decides when the moment comes, and that no one outside these walls will ever believe it. If you thought this was scary, the night shift never ends. Hospitals hold secrets you'll never see. Stay curious, stay aware. I'm Speech Bubble.